Finally, the movie I've waited my entire life to see on screen. Here's my review of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Who's the one and only Malcolm?
I am.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm a little bit biased. I wanted this movie to succeed. I wanted this to be the best movie of the entire year. And I do think this was actually a very good movie, but it wasn't great. There were a lot of things that were really awesome in this film, but there were also a lot of problems with it. But let me start with the positives. There were a lot of people that hated the casting choice of Ben Affleck as Batman in this film, but I have to say, he crushed it. He looked the part, he acted the part, he was pretty badass through the entire film. And for anyone who knows me, they know that I'm more of a Superman fan than a Batman fan, so it pains me to say that he stole the show in this movie. And one thing I would say that they nailed directorially in this film is just how they had Batman fight. Many of his fights felt like a comic book coming to life, and I really enjoyed that in this film. And while it is a small role, Jeremy Irons is a perfect Alfred in this film, and complements Batman very well in the movie. Another thing I ended up liking that I thought I was going to dislike from the trailers was the inclusion of Doomsday in this movie. I felt like he looked a little cheesy. I didn't see how they were going to fit him into the story. I thought they were just adding him in just to add him in. I really didn't think I was going to like his character in this movie. But once Doomsday comes into the picture in the movie, it ended up being some of my favorite parts of the entire film. And I might be one of the only ones to actually say this, but I actually like Jesse Eisenberg's version of Lex Luthor in this film. I think there were some directional problems with his character, but other than that, I really like the way he portrayed the character as a whole. I don't think I can blame his acting for the Lex Luthor in this film being a little odd. He plays a bit more of an insane, eccentric Lex Luthor in this film, and that's going to rub some people the wrong way. I understand that. But I felt like this was more of a prequel for his character in the movie. I think they're setting up the mythos of the Lex Luthor character in this film. He's not the mature Lex Luthor that we know from the comics and the cartoons that we grew up with. But at least by the end of the movie, I can see that that's the direction that they're going to be going in the future. There are a couple scenes in this movie where Lex Luthor is talking to Superman, and he's really not giving him the respect that you think he should give someone who could tear him apart. And it's those scenes that give me sort of an insight into what Lex Luthor is going to be like in the future. This gives you a glimpse of what future Lex Luthor that you kind of see from the comics when you see the cartoons is what he's going to be like going forward, in which he's very cocky, very overconfident. He knows that Superman's not going to hurt him because of some weird moral code, even though Superman has shown that he's killed before. This is how confident Lex Luthor can be, and he really wasn't that way most of the film, so this gives you kind of an insight of what's going to come in the future for the character, and that's what I liked. That's the Lex Luthor that I think a lot of people are sort of overlooking in this film, that I really enjoyed, that I can kind of see and enjoy the beginning of the Lex Luthor character.
Bow to me. I said bow, you alien swine!
And now on to Wonder Woman. Her role is very small in this film, but from what I do actually get to see of her, she actually did a really good job. It gives you a sort of a preview of what a Wonder Woman movie would be like, and honestly, I gotta say I'm more excited about seeing a Wonder Woman film than I was before I saw the movie. So you're really gonna like her character in this movie. There's not a whole lot of her that you get to see, but what you do see is awesome. The big guns himself, Henry Cavill, did a fine job in this film. I felt like this was more of a Batman movie than a Superman movie, so I felt a lot of his stuff was very much background and kind of pushed aside for Batman, for Ben Affleck's character. But what I do get to see of him, he does a solid job. He plays the Man of Steel Superman that we all know and hopefully enjoy. But now on to the bad stuff. But really, if you're listing out all the bad things in this film, there's not a lot in terms of a list format. It just so happens that the stuff that is bad about it takes up over half the movie. And there's really only two things that I can list that really were detrimental to this movie's success. The pacing in the first half of this movie was horrendous. You were watching the movie waiting for something to happen, and you just kept waiting and kept waiting and kept waiting and kept waiting and kept waiting. It honestly just felt like plot point after plot point after plot point, and you kept waiting for actual action to occur. You felt like you kept waiting for the movie to get started. Now, when the action does start to occur and when all the awesome starts to happen, it's really good. The second half of this movie is the movie that everyone, I think, was paying to see and was paying to go watch. But we had to wait like an hour and a half or more just to get to that point. And I think that's where a lot of people are going to hate this movie. And not just the pacing. The first half of the movie also had an issue where the way they edited the film was kind of odd to me. The plot points that they were hitting on were kind of going all over the place. You would get a bit of Batman's backstory, this other character's backstory, this person's motivations, future time, present time. You were all over the place and you really couldn't get a feel for this movie. It felt like you were sitting in your seat trying to figure out where this movie was going and you had no idea, which sucked. And that's what's really detrimental to this movie. It's the fact that you can tell this movie was made to be sort of a prequel to a Justice League film rather than just making a really great film in and of itself. A lot of movies do that. I feel like Marvel's kind of heading down that road as well, like with Age of Ultron, where you felt like it was set up for a future movie rather than just coming to see a solidly well done movie by itself. And I'm glad they have the confidence to do that, because I wouldn't have done it, because this is basically your last chance of making an amazing DC film that's going to set up the entire universe. You want to make sure this movie does it right. And while the second half of this movie does it right, the first half is a bit of a snooze fest. Honestly, you're going to fall asleep. So, unfortunately. But those are my thoughts on Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I actually, in spite of the first half of the movie, once the second half got started, it was an amazing film, and that's a movie that I paid to go see. So that half of the movie was so good that it outweighs the bad for me. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed the movie. Was it the best movie of all time? No, there are a lot of major problems with the film that I hope they correct if they get a chance at future films. So I liked it. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. And I actually have a fair amount of questions for you to leave in the comments. Did you like Lex Luthor? What did you think of Batman? Was Jeremy Irons the best Alfred in the world? I think so, honestly. What did you think about Gal Gadot's character? Because honestly, as a Wonder Woman character, I thought she did an amazing job, and she set up for her future film very well. So, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below, and feel free to subscribe to our channel. And as usual, you can always go to madmazreviews.com to get more of our amazing content. I look forward to seeing you next time.
Now, if you will excuse me, my plane leaves shortly.
You are going on a quest for knowledge?
No, I'm going to visit my mother in Miami.